Hi there and welcome to the latest episode of Pat's Procrastination, brought to you by the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel. Welcome folks to Friday Free Agency Frenzy. Yes, we did our best to bring this to you by the end of the week so that we could talk about all the amazing things that the Patriots have done so far, all those mega transactions that we've seen by other teams. No, I jest. So I must welcome in, obviously, my co-host Chudders. I am Clazzy Clare as usual, and so how are we feeling, Chudders?
Very pleased, very happy with the business they've done.
Be honest now.
Well, that is honest. I'm pleased and happy with the business they have done. It's the business they haven't done that is grating on me more, but I'm sure we'll get back to that shortly. How are you doing, Claire?
I am good, thank you. See, you men, you're never satisfied, just never satisfied. So as it is, as we said, the end of the week, the free agents, there's only been, a handful of days and the Patriots have done some stuff. So I thought we'd quickly run through it. I'm not going to throw numbers out at people because we will be here all day if we break down all the different sort of contracts and stuff. And some of the numbers haven't actually come out yet. So I wasn't actually able to find some of the deal details for some of the re-signings. So quickly just tick off some of the names so that we're as up to date, or you're as up to date as we are, I suppose. They retained, apologies, O-lineman Mike Onwenu for 3 years. That one. The first signing, actually, Hunter Henry, they retained him for 3 years. So mega thumbs up for that one. Kendrick Bourne, again, 3-year deal. Linebacker Joshua.
Pause.
Oh.
Are we getting a thumbs up, thumbs down, or middle? I like this Claire scale. So that's a thumbs up for Bourne.
Okay, so we've got Onwenu, we've got Henry. Well, I'd do 3 thumbs up if I had Henry, but obviously I only have 2. Kendrick Bourne, Uche to a 1-year deal. That's good. Anthony Jennings to a 3-year deal. I know you were happy about that one. They've retained wide receiver Jalen Reagor for a year. It's fine. It's a semi thumbs up. Quarterback Nathan Rourke, he got retained. Cornerback Alex Austin. Now, I don't have the year deal, unfortunately. I wanted to find that, I didn't. So apologies to anybody that does know it's out there. I didn't find that one prior to the show. So offensive tackle Tyron Wheatley, linebacker Christian Ellis. I believe they were practice squad dudes last year. And we currently have safety Carl Duggar on the transition tag. So that's still a sort of a waiting to establish if he's going to remain in the fold, as they say. Do you want to go on ads or departures now?
Go on to ads.
Okay.
Suggest all the positives.
There's an offensive tackle with a name that I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to try. So go and look it up yourself. He's 6'6".
Chucks. Chucks.
Chucks. There you go. 1-year deal.
I think it's Okorafor, I think is how you pronounce. Yes. Certainly the surname. Chukwumi Okorafor.
Yeah. I apologise, folks. I haven't had enough coffee this morning to get through things like this. So I do apologise. It's still reasonably early here-ish. Running back Antonio Gibson. 3-year deal for the 25-year-old. Quarterback Jacoby Brissett. And up to $8 million 1-year deals. So okay, good. As long as there's an asterisk on the thumbs up for me, because it's a thumbs up if he's the backup, experience in the room kind of situation, and Chudders has decided to use his mic.
Just realised I've probably been talking away and nobody's heard.
If you couldn't hear Chudders, don't worry, folks. I hear him enough for all of us. So, yes, going back to the show, ever the professional. Jacoby Brissett is a thumbs up if he is the experienced in the room situation. If he's the starting quarterback, I'm not sure how thumbs up-ish I am at the moment on that, but that's an asterisk on that one. Linebacker Taki 2-year deal. Tight end Austin Hooper to a 1-year deal. So at least they brought in some tight endage. Not the tight endage that I wanted, as people very well know, to be honest. But yes, I want to look into him. He's not on my radar as always, because I only have so many brain cells that I can deal with, that my memory can hold, and I can't remember a lot of the information on him. So I'm going to go away and study up on Austin Hooper so that come the season I know a lot about our tight end. Defensive lineman Armon Watts and offensive lineman Nick Leverett. So as far as I'm aware, as we record this at 9:30 UK time, that's what they've added and that's what they've re-signed. Now, when you listen to this show, that may be different. So I apologise when you watch this show. So I apologise. That's as up to date as we can get right now. As for the do you wish to discuss them, or shall I go on to the departures?
Let's go for the departures.
Okay, I shall continue on, and then Chudders can take the rest of the show.
No.
As we all know, Jacksonville have taken Mac Jones, the quarterback. So I know you were thumbs up about that departure. Yeah, 2 thumbs up from Chudders. Shocking. Linebacker Matt Wilson, senior. Yeah, apologies. Has gone to the Cardinals. Safety Jalen Mills has gone to the Giants. I was a bit. I kind of wanted to retain him. Actually, I'm Matt Wilson. For me, any defense. I think I mentioned a few shows ago when Lawrence Guy was released in February, I didn't want the defense to change. I know obviously you've got age and you've got money and you've got all sorts of things like that. But for me, I really wanted this offseason, this draft season, to be so offensively focused that I kind of was like, can't you just leave the defense and retain the guys and that and maintain the defense as it was, to be honest? So the Wilson Mills leaving, I wasn't too. Oh, yeah. Gesicki went to the Bengals. Pharaoh Brown went to the Seahawks. Oh, and Devontae Parker went to the Eagles. Well, he was technically released and then he was picked up by the Eagles. So, as far as I'm aware, as I said, now 9:32 UK time, that is all the departures I currently know of. Is there someone that you might have on a list that I've missed?
No one there that I'm aware of you've missed.
That's as it is as well.
Chris Board as well. Did you mention Chris Board? I think he's
I did
been
not.
released.
Apologies, I did not. I knew I'd missed one. So yeah. So rewind back to the re-signs, if you like, because I think people are most interested in who's been retained and who's been added than who's left, really, because we all know that you were completely fine that Mac Jones left. So we'll just put that to bed now and that's done. So let's go on what the future holds for the Patriots. How do we feel, Chudders?
I'm very pleased with the business they've done so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pleased they brought back Kendrick Bourne. I'm someone who wanted him back. I think he showed some good spark last year before he got injured. So I was pleased that they retained him. Very pleased they retained Hunter Henry. That shows some continuity in that tight end room. You obviously needed some. I like the pairing with Hooper as well, from Cleveland. I think that's a good start. I know Claire won't like to hear this, but it could well be an upgrade on what you had last year as a 1-2 there.
It could be. That's fair.
I'm pleased that they retained Alex Austin, because I thought at the end of the season he was starting to perform well. He was showing not a top end play, but he was showing some potential, some promise there. So hopefully that can be developed and
he's only 22 as well. So you've got, that's good. You've got a young guy in the system, so that's always good. I think they're sorry to interrupt you. They're one of the I won't get it verbatim, but one of the phrases that I think it was Elliot Wolf was using was sort of like, in the essence of bring in and retain, maintain, you kind of like develop. Apologies, I can't remember the wording. I know it's been out there a lot. So to me, that sort of ticks that box of they had this guy already in the fold. He's still young, so he's got a lot of future. Worked well, developed well. So just keep developing. So I think that sort of airs to that, which is a positive. Sorry, go.
No, I agree with that. Wheatley, bringing him back, that's a bit of an unknown, really, because he's not played in the NFL at all through injury. So I don't have high hopes that you're going to magically get a starting tackle out of him, but that's a tire to poke, see what you have got there. And I was pleased they brought him back. I think it shows some leadership, like he can provide some leadership in the locker room. As one of the more senior players, you've either got an elite, I would say, or certainly high-end guard, or you've got a good tackle there, and we can maybe get onto that later. Jalen Reagor's, it's a short deal, but happily brought him back again. He showed a bit of, running the opening kickoff back in Buffalo last year was great spark. Brought him back for not very much. He played a couple of snaps on offense at the end of the year, couple of good runs, nothing amazing, but okay, maybe that's something you can develop. Again, I'm not thinking more than probably a fourth or fifth receiver, but maybe it's a fourth or fifth receiver you've got there. If
Can I
not,
just
maybe just a
interject?
special teams. Go for it.
Sorry, yeah. With regards to bringing him back, he isn't, as you mentioned, he's more of a fourth or fifth wide receiver. The one for me is he someone that they see internally as works well within the organisation, and he's that position in the wide receiver room as a bit of experience. I mean, he's not super experienced, he's 25, so but a little bit of experience, a little bit of stability. Not the superstar that needs to compete for the wide receiver one. He's there as a good solid. Don't forget they need foundation as well as they need the stars on top, sort of thing. So maybe, no, I'm just speculating, maybe that's why he was significantly retained, because as you said, he didn't play a lot. Maybe they're working more sort of from the internal foundation of it than they are the star receiver, and they've got their eye on somebody else.
Possibly, but then the fact you've only given him a 1-year deal maybe indicates that if he was really not necessarily a key piece, but you thought a structurally sound piece you want as part of this structure, to only give him a 1-year deal doesn't, it's only 1.3 million. You could have easily given him a 2 or 3 year deal on that amount, and it's not going to dent you even if you cut him after a year. So it could be the case, and he could provide some experience, but I doubt that's why they're retaining him, but you could be right. You could be onto something there. Uche, yeah, nice. They brought him back. It's some continuity. He was one of the ones I wouldn't have been that sad if he'd have gone elsewhere, but some continuity on what was a high-performing defense last year. Same for Anthony Jennings, obviously on the transition tag. At least they've got him. I hope they work out a longer-term deal with him. Although that might be later in the season because of
Doug is on the transition tag.
Oh, beg your
Jennings
pardon,
was just signed. Jennings was signed to a 3-year deal.
Correct. You are correct. My mistake there. I was very pleased they brought back Jennings. You're correct. It's Duggar. I'm pleased they brought him back and on the transition tag, and I hope they do sign him up for longer. Ellis, Rourke, Wheatley, not too worried about. Like I've said,
their practice. I think for me, their practice ones that they're looking at.
Agree.
Keeping around. It's like, we want to keep you around. We're going to get you back. You're our
camp
foundation
bodies,
practice squad. Yeah, you're who we want. So they're letting the guys know who they want, that they want them, even though they are secondary roles, if you like, in as you said, camp bodies and practice squads. So
on those that are retained, is there anything that stood out to you, Claire, that you're really pleased with, or any potentially even any of the names that I know there's one from the tight end room that you wish they had worked out a way to retain, but of those that were up for retaining, are you happy with the business they've done there?
Oh yeah, completely. As soon as the Hunter Henry signing was made, that was a good day. That was a really good day, because they did the very logical, and as you know, he's my guy. So he was my guy when they first signed him. So it was him over Jonnu Smith always for me. So definitely happy that they've addressed that in a little way. On Menu, glad that they kept him in the fold. Alex Austin, as we discussed, he was one of my, when I saw that they'd re-signed him, it wasn't a name I'd been thinking about, but as soon as I saw it, it was a name that was a thumbs up, like, oh, that's great. Awesome. So yeah, I wanted to push back on what you said on Uche. You sort of, I get, he wasn't the most productive, and everybody sort of said that. The one thing I wanted to interject was, because of who is where they are in regards to Mayo being the defense guy who's now the head coach, I'm wondering, and Covington being the DC, perhaps he's an individual that they see a lot of potential in, and they want to retain him to ascertain if they can grow. I don't know why I mention anything, because every single thing I say, I get the same face. That is the reaction to Claire's comment.
It's the same as Riga. I don't think it's a bad theory. The problem is you've only got him on a 1-year deal. So again, if you saw long-term potential there, and he's only on at 3 million.
Long-term potential.
But
move on to the ads then. But just move on.
In some ways, you're not. I'd like to see more potential in him. I think he for the past few years, certainly the beginning, I thought he played better than Jennings, for example, the two that were signed at the same time. but then more recently, I think Jennings has overtaken him. He's played well, but I don't think he's played consistently high end. And I do. There's been. I may be wrong, but I think there were statements where he said he just wanted to come back to New England. He had other offers, but he wanted to come back to New England. So maybe that does show if he has a more positive year next year, he'll be a free agent again. But you know, if you want to keep him around, you probably would need to pay him more if he's had a good year than his $3 million. But maybe there's a relationship there that he would prefer to play on if you can afford him next year. Yeah, no, it's good to have that continuity on defense.
Move on to the ads because we're going to run out of time.
So, okay. Austin Hooper. I think that's a good pickup. One, he should have an understanding of the system coming from Cleveland and playing under AVP before. He's of that same mold of sort of Gesicki Smith. He's a number 2 with some upside. He's not really, you wouldn't want him slated as your number 1. But hopefully he can fit in this system and be exactly what they need that position. Any 2 tight end sets, or if Hunter's out for injury or whatever, he's going to fit in well there. Yeah, no, I think it's positive. I'm pleased with that signing. You?
Yeah.
You're going to go watch more tape and then come back and be even more bouncing. So
and
Antonio
then,
Gibson.
I'm going to do something on Pat's Prop, hopefully. So
okay.
No, I was just going to say I might do a little bit of a catch up on the tight ends on the Pat's Prop, because people kind of expect me to do the tight end thing now, so I might as well do it. So yeah, when there's a little bit of time, I'll do a recap on the tight ends and stuff like that. So yeah, make sure, folks, that you are subscribing to the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel. And yes, I'm pointing at you now. Make sure you're subscribing to the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel and keeping your eyes peeled on patspropaganda.com for all kind of my latest articles. There's t-shirts on there, so you know, go nuts, treat yourself, whatever. So sorry, please continue.
Antonio Gibson, that's an interesting one for me. When you look at how the running back market has gone this free agents, there was a lot of big names out there and you didn't sign one of the big names. Now, that said, what you possibly got was the right piece rather than the best piece for your system. Patriots needed a third down passing back. They've not really had one since James White. That's where Antonio Gibson could fit that mold. You could say possibly looking at Zeke, and he's, as far as I'm aware, he's still not signed anywhere else. Maybe he could have. He could have been that role and some continuity there, but maybe there wasn't a fit there between the personnel. But I think that's a good signing. A lot of the high end running backs that were available this year, and I'm looking at sort of Henry or Barkley, that were available have got a bit of an injury past, whereas I think Antonio Gibson was fit for most of last year. So I think he's someone who availability is the best ability to have, as was quoted. Maybe that's something to show that he will fit in well with what the Patriots really need this year. Hopefully Stevenson can stay fit, be the early down back, and then Antonio comes in for that change of pace. So I'm hoping that's more a good fit than necessarily a high talent acquisition.
That's what I thought when it was, because I know we discussed this off air, and it, like you said, it wasn't one of the top names, but for me, when I looked into sort of skill set and what people were saying, and like those opinions that I trust, like Evan and stuff like that, for me, this was significant in a way of, like you said, they weren't getting just the top guy. They were getting a guy that they needed, that had the skill set that they needed to slot. And I think that's important. It's all very well getting that name that everybody wants, but if he doesn't really fit and work with it, you don't have to change your whole offense for a single individual running back. You want the running back that works in the offense that you want to work. Now, there's all the arguments of, well, that offense isn't working and stuff like that. And I fully appreciate that. We don't have time for that kind of thing today. But on the point of him being the guy that you seem to need, for me, that outdoes everything in a way. And it's not like he's just a Z-rated running back. He's one of the higher up names. He's one of the top names in fantasy football last year. He did quite well. So for me, I know that that's always a good running back when they're high up in the fantasy football time. So yeah, it was, yeah, I was, I don't want to say excited because that's not quite the word I wanted, but because of, as you said, yes, very positive about this signing. Happy actually, because it looks like they're addressing that glaring need that they had. Now you can't replace, you know, the likes of James White in regards to that because he was such, you know, a true Patriot and stuff. But with regards to skill set and the kind of running back that you want, Gibson ticks that box, and I think that's very significant because I think it's something that the Patriots were really missing. So I'm really positive and really pleased that they have addressed that situation with someone who is successful, maybe not elite, but successful, good running back. And that's why I was really quite so happy when they signed that running back in particular. Sorry.
I have to apologise. Good points made. So moving on to the next one, I would say Jacoby Brissett. I was pleased with that signing. It's who I wanted. He's someone who can start the first 6 or so games if you need him to. If you do take a new quarterback and you want him to sit, Jacoby can start. He can also hopefully have some familiarity with New England, having been here before, drafted by the Patriots, and also he hopefully can be, because of his experience around the league now. He's 31, I want to say, or something like that, maybe 29. But he's been around the league a bit now, traveled a few teams. He's got that experience. He's obviously got the experience in AVP's offense, having come from Cleveland.
31.
And so hopefully he can help develop that young rookie. The only slight niggle I have with that deal, again, it's a 1-year deal. I wish that had been a 2 or a 3-year deal. But that said, if it's a successful partnership this year, however that plays out, then quite possibly he may be one who's open to coming back again next year, depending on how things play out around the league. So I'm not too down, but I would have been even happier if it had been a bit longer deal.
One point is the one thing that comes to mind when you say about that, the 1-year deal, it's going to depend on who they bring in as a quarterback. And it could be that the individual that they bring in, they want to make sure that they're investing all in their number 1 quarterback. So say that's, you know, one of the top 3 that they signed this year. And if Brissett and that number 1 don't gel amazingly, they don't want to link Brissett into the organisation for too long because they want to make sure that they're keeping their number 1 happy. Just another speculation. I know you pulled the same face that you've, so yeah, we'll just screenshot that and just use it.
It's possible.
But this is the plausibility of, well, they don't want to commit to him because they want to make sure that they put the best around who they're bringing in, so they don't make the mistakes that they made with Mac Jones, so they don't have conflict and stuff like that. Now I know they're grown-ass men, so they're gonna, you know, it's not like they're not going to get on, but I'm just saying skill set wise, attitude wise, locker room wise, maybe they're sort of making sure Brissett knows you're on a 1-year deal, you're our backup guy, because who we bring in, who we draft, potentially, hopefully everybody's crossing, most people are crossing their fingers, he's who we're pushing, he's who we're supporting, that sort of thing. That might be why they're only looking at a 1-year deal, in my opinion. Probably wrong, just my opinion. Can I ask you, I know we don't really have time, but Brissett, another past Patriots quarterback who is available, but it might be because of his no, you were not interested in the Garoppolo experience again. No, just checking. I'm not plugging for it myself.
A few years ago, post Brady, I may have been interested in that. In fact, I was interested in that. Not definite, but I was interested in the option.
Yeah.
Now he's too injured and not playing at high enough level. I don't see him.
Well,
he's not a starter. He's not a project.
Games, so.
Exactly, he's not available for the first 4 games. When that's particularly when you'd want your.
I think that's going to hurt him individually significantly.
Quarterback coming in to play anywhere. I that ship has sailed for me, I'm afraid. One thing I'll say, you're with your comparison with Mac's experience. All I would say is I think the version of Brissett he had with Brian Hoyer, and they had a good relationship, but it was Hoyer's relationship with Bill that fell out, which is why he then left and went with McDaniels to
I was just using
Oakland. Wow, Las Vegas. But so in some ways, you're right that if that good relationship's there, it's good to continue it.
Yeah.
And if it's a bad relationship, it's obviously good to end it. And that just could have been a very small 1% contributing factor as to how Mac played out, was that he did lose that comforting arm around the shoulder from Brian that he may well have enjoyed.
It's nice to have a little bit of affection occasionally, even if you're a grown-ass fan.
I would have preferred him on a 2-3 year deal, but hey ho. Taki, Watts, and Leverett, they're brought in. So Taki I almost see as a swap with Matt Wilson.
I read about that.
It's a backup almost linebacker. Taki's performed quite well on special teams in his career, so it could be something you get out of him sort of day one, if you like, on that side of the ball. Watts, that could almost be a replacement for Lawrence Guy. Now, you haven't got the same experience and leadership that Lawrence have built up through his career with the Patriots, but it's that same sort of experienced player who he's not going to be a number one defensive lineman, but he can contribute on the defensive line. Nick Leverett was one that surprised me. I feel like that's almost a camp body. I'm almost worried if he's on the roster because you've already got, in my opinion, four guards other than the two centers, Andrews. You've already got Sidney Sal, Maffey, Strange, and Onwenu as your four guards. Why you brought in a fifth one, I don't know.
You might not have Strange. That's the key. I think that's what he is. I think he is from what I understand, from what people have speculated. Now, this is not in the organisation, so I'm only going on hearsay, if buts, candy and nuts. Is the Cole Strange injury concerns and Leverett being the insurance over him. So, because if Strange is out for a significant part of the beginning of the season, you then don't have any backups. And the one issue they had the last couple of seasons is not only the lack of skill on the O-line, but then the lack of depth as well. So then you started to get to the stage of, let's at least get some individuals in now, so by the time we need that depth, they aren't floundering around and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't be too concerned, not to tell you how to fan, obviously, but I wouldn't be too concerned at this moment. I think he is more of a insurance because they're concerned about Cole Strange. And I think after the draft, see what they do, that kind of thing. And there's still time for them to, there's still time for other things to transpire. So,
and I hope
of all the things to worry about, I don't think that should be one right now.
I hope it's that way, and it's not that Onwenu's getting kicked to right tackle permanently, and so they needed another backup interior lineman, but maybe that is the plan. And on that, I think that can transition nicely into what they haven't done. And we're still...
You only have about 2 minutes to moan, so go.
We still don't have a starting left tackle. As I've shared with you, these are players you can pick up in the draft, but we came into this offseason needing a quarterback, needing a left tackle, or at least a left tackle, if not a right as well. But you could argue they've re-signed Onwenu and they've got a Okorafor. Between them, hopefully we got someone who can play right tackle. And that is something you should be able to pick up in the draft anyway. You also needed a number one receiver, an X receiver, and you haven't got any of those three pieces. None of those have been addressed in this free agency period, and that's massively worrying. You had the quotes that came out, we're going to burn some cash. They've spent a lot of money, but they've not flashed the cash. Now, you could argue they did try with Calvin Ridley, although he possibly isn't an X receiver that they were looking for, but they did try to spend some big money there. They obviously weren't able to in the end, and he's gone to Tennessee. But they still need that stud receiver. They still need that starting left tackle. Quarterback, I think we're all relatively happy they didn't splash the cash on that in free agency. You could also argue, with all the tags that were applied and the re-signing that was done, there maybe wasn't that stud X receiver out there, which leads you to think, well, possibly the two names that are still obtainable are either Higgins, which would probably cost you your second round pick, or Williams, who's now been released by the Chargers, who you could get in free agency on a manageable deal with the cap space you've still got, because they've still got 55 million plus to spend, and they'll need to spend some of that before it all closes anyway. You could get Williams in, and that's your ex receiver. You still haven't got really a stud receiving room there at all. But you've got options to play the positions that you need, if you like. You've got an X, Y, and a Z there, and you've got your slot men. You've got some options. Plus, you can supplement that, hopefully, in the draft. That's what I'd like to see. They said they were going to weaponize the offense. They haven't done that. The more of the transactions have been for the offense. In who they've re-signed and who they've acquired fresh. They've spent more money or more free agent signings on the offense. I don't think anyone would suggest they've in any ways weaponized the offense. You could say you're minutely better at tight end with bringing in Hooper instead of Gesicki, but that's minor. You could say maybe Antonio Gibson is a better backup running fit than Elliott, but even that's debatable. But again, that's really minor. You've not weaponized your offense at all. And realistically, there's only going to be one pick in the draft where you could solidify and say that that's going to be really weaponizing it. And even that's a lottery pick. As someone said, I think someone used to tell me that the draft is a crapshoot. So there seems to be a heavy reliance now on how well they're going to be able to draft. And that was always going to be the case. I wish they'd supplemented more in what they've had now.
Quick pushback, because we don't have much time. 2 points. One, I'd like to say yet there is still time to, like you said, trade for Higgins and stuff like that and pick up a left tackle. There's still some time and there's still some guys. So there's that point. The second point is this draft class, from what I understand, is deep in wide receiver talent and offensive tackle talent, or O-lineman talent. Apologies. So it could be that come the draft, they do get weaponized with picks 1, 2, and 3. Quarterback, wide receiver, tackle, or quarterback, tackle, wide receiver. There's still that chance, and the other thing that you're looking at also is you did sort of allude to it a little bit. The availability of that top weaponizing talent was lacking. So surely you don't want them to go down the route of throwing money at the problem. The Jonnu Smith experience. We don't want the Jonnu Smith experience again. So what is the point of them getting a guy he's all right, yeah, kind of thing, throwing a lot of money at it because, it's in demand this season. I just, like I said, I don't tell you what to think. I don't tell you what to fan. It just feels like you should just be a bit more patient. We're the first week of free agency and they've done some really positive things. So why can't we focus on that than what they haven't done? You kind of want to be happy with what you do have rather than what you don't have now, because the season is still far away and there's still plenty of time to sort it out. Now, there's lots of arguments but they'll miss out and they haven't got this guy, they haven't got that. It just feels like let's not be too negative yet because we still have time to sort it out. Yeah. And we're up against it again.
I've got no problems with them addressing it in the draft, but you could address it in the draft and in free agency. You don't have to do one or the other. Why are they not doing both? Get a starting left tackle now, pick one in the draft and develop him using the elite or top end talent that you've signed, rather than throwing him straight in. Right, you have to be our starting left tackle now because we've not gone aside one.
There's still time to do that.
Same for your wide receiver. The likelihood is you won't be taking a receiver with third pick in the draft. That's looking most likely it's going to be a quarterback. So the receiver you're taking is either going to be second round or more likely maybe third round, because second round you have to spend on your tackle. Your third round receiver you're bringing in can be good, but they're not going to be a starting elite X receiver. So supplement it with someone else and develop them. They could, but they could turn into it and you sign talent. It's not one or the other. That's the problem.
You can't always have everything.
No, but they've got
Another
nothing.
Thing is
the point is they've got nothing.
No, this is
at the moment.
They have not got nothing.
At the moment, they had a poor season when they had Matt Patricia as offensive coordinator. They then did all the best they could last season to improve it, and they went 4-13. The roster they have now is pretty much no different to where they went 4-13, except for you're going to have a different quarterback and a different head coach. And so at the moment, all they're saying is the only reason we went 4-13 and the reason why we think we can do better is because we got a different coach and a different quarterback. They could be right, but to not weaponize the offense, I think, is a mistake at the moment. You yourself, rightly, and many others, said how Mac Jones was not protected well enough and didn't have enough weapons to get the best out of him. And that's exactly what they're doing again. If they take one at 3, they look like they're going through that exact same pattern. He's not got weapons to be throwing to, and they've not signed elite talent to protect him. Surely you, more than anyone who thinks that the past experience was a failure, should be looking at this and going, we need to do more to make sure we don't repeat the mistakes of the past.
That bit I agree with. My sort of pushback or my outlook that I'm trying to take to try and maintain positivity is there's still time for things to transpire. That's all. That's like the saving grace right now. This is the list of guys that they have now, but we still have time. If this was the day before the start of the season and this is what we've got, then that's a different matter. We've still got the rest of free agency and the draft to go through. I think it's important because there's so much that they could do in the draft that we don't know. There's so much that they could do. They could bundle a load of picks, trade up and take a top wide receiver back. They could trade back into the first round and all sorts of crazy stuff. They could. There is literally an endless amount of possibilities that we have no time to run through them all. Obviously, nobody does. And it's just a case of I'm just going to try and maintain my optimism, my positivity until after we see what happens then. That's all. That's all I am saying. You are well within your rights and you aren't wrong in saying what you're saying in regards to they haven't weaponized it. They haven't done that much. That kind of, that's not wrong, obviously. I'm just saying I'm trying to stay a little bit more positive, optimistic, open-minded until the draft is done. Then we'll see. Then we can do the, they haven't done anything type thing. That's just my opinion of it.
And unless the draft brings trades, and for example, let's say during the draft weekend they trade for Higgins, then my opinion of this won't change because you could come out of the draft with a great O-line in the second round, a quarterback in the first round, a receiver in the third round, brilliant. But you could have done that and signed the good players.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong.
That's where it will continue to frustrate me and it won't be wrong. Now, it's again the way they set our expectations when this new regime came in versus what they've delivered so far is where the disappointment is really there. If they'd come out and said, look, be patient, it's going to take a long time, we're not going to go and splash the cash on players we shouldn't be, we're going to learn lessons of a couple of years ago, we're not going to do this, then we'd all be sat here going, okay, trust the process. But the fact they came out and they said, we're going to weaponize the offense, we're going to splash the cash, made you think, brilliant, can't wait for free agency, and it comes. And then you see every other team taking all the great talent and you think, what are we doing? And it's the same as what the Red Sox went through with Full Throttle and the whole backlash they've had.
But isn't it always a case of don't listen to what they say, look at what they do? Haven't we always been like that, though?
But looking at what they've done is the disappointing thing. That's where it's the fault. Now, the one slightly away from
a list of promises they're not keeping. Oh, it's so terrible.
The one thing that I saw that I thought might please you was the Commanders trading Sam Howell to Seattle. Now, I think that could be a small indication that they could be taking Jaden Daniels with a second overall pick because Sam Howell is from same college as Drake.
that could be why they've done it, because they're bringing in the other one, sort of thing. Because I think I told you that had happened. I never thought about that.
Well, this is it. But you'd think, okay, we're bringing in Drake May. Let's bring in his former teammate. Bit of continuity, good relationship there. Like you were saying earlier, having that good quarterback room. You'd think if that was their plan, that's probably the route they would have gone. Whereas trading him away might make you think, well, hang on, that's not their plan. Maybe they're going Jane Daniels. So that was just a little positivity that I thought you might like.
I think you just need to make sure people know
always like keeping you happy, Claire. You know, I'd never like to put your mood down.
Oh yeah, no, you don't actually have a hobby that is classed as mocking Claire. No, it's not your hobby, is it? No. Just to let people know that the reason you've said that is because the quarterback that we'd like them to take is you're more going towards the Jaden Daniels pick and I'm going more towards the Drake May pick, just so that people are aware that you're kind of in the Daniels camp and I'm kind of in the May camp. So yeah, just so people understand. And on that note, I think it's time to end the Friday free agency frenzy. Not sure when we'll be back, folks, so please keep an eye on the socials, patspropaganda.com, to know when the next episode will be with you. But do not fear, we will be remaining with you for this. Well, actually, I was going to say off season, but it's not now. It's Happy New Year and welcome to the new NFL season, because, you know, we just keep plugging away, folks. So from him, Chudders, from myself, Clazzy Clare, thank you for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. As always, folks, tune in next time and go Pats.
LFG.